Welcome to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here to talk about what goes on in the village, the various townships, with the government entities, those people that make regulations, ordinances that affect you.
That's right. Now that it's 2015, all those people that you elected back in November are in place. And the decisions that they make in the subcommittees and the commissions that they appoint are making decisions that directly affect you, whether you attend these meetings or not. That's partly why we're here.
Yes, and I'll tell you what, you will find humor if you look for it. You don't have to look real hard either, do you?
No.
And that's what we search for, is the humor in politics. And the first thing we're going to talk about is Communications Commission.
Always a laugh.
Yes, always a laugh.
No.
No, actually they're pretty serious stuff, especially if you better look more
now
serious than
they're serious.
if you don't look more serious than that, you might, when they show you the door, I don't know. Anyway, they dealt with what they call a local agreement, internal agreement. You know something about that?
Yes, it's called an interlocal agreement between the various municipalities that are represented on the commission, and that's the Township of Oxford, Township of Addison, Village of Leonard, and Village of Oxford.
And what does it do? What does this piece of paper do that people have to sign?
It basically says that there's an agreement between them as to how the commission should run.
Right. And how, anything else? Or is that it?
That's
all
pretty
you
much
got?
it. That's all I got, man.
Okay. Anyway, so
You won't let me see the detail.
No, those legal papers were put together. Bob
By Bob Davis.
Davis, okay, the attorney, and so it's actually set up as a protection to
Right.
the various people that sit on the board.
Right, and he basically made a lot of corrections to previous documents that existed that he said, you know, left a lot of holes, and now he's tightened up everything and has presented the commission with a pretty good document, and that document now has to be circulated to the various municipalities to sign.
Right. Can you say the previous ones were willy-nilly and these are nilly?
Well, not quite willy-nilly, but they had
Right.
some areas that needed to be improved.
Well, they did talk about, the ID, the tax ID. The
That's right.
Entity.
There was some talk of getting our own tax ID and not use the tax ID of the Oxford Township. However, Bob actually applied for an individual tax ID for our station to the state and was rejected.
Oh, really?
So the conclusion was that we're perfectly okay using the tax ID of the township.
We are. Well, we chose to use Oxford Township.
Right, and
It could have been any of the
it could have
townships.
been, basically he says we're leveraging the talent of the various communities. And in this particular case, we're leveraging the talent of Oxford Township.
That is true. It also, under the township provides a certain umbrella, of protection to the people
Oh, sure.
that are on the board. So that, can you say the word sue? Everybody wants to sue everybody for every other reason. But
I think the revised document that he came up with kind of tightens that down quite a bit, too.
it does. So, with a sigh of relief, the Communications Commission members now can, right?
That's right. Feel a lot
Okay.
more comfortable about signing that thing.
Right. They did talk after that about budget. They did review the budgets.
Right.
And it looks like they're in pretty good shape for last year.
Right.
A little bit higher on the employment in
Right.
terms of expenses.
Hourly
right?
wages. But that's has a lot to do with the extra programming that our station has done over the last year. So,
One additional thing that they did talk about, and that was, hey, we've got some money in here. We should earmark this for what purpose? And there was quite a discussion about what the money should be used for. And they said, well, in the past, we've said that we need to move to a new location because where you're at now is quite noisy and there's a number of disruptions in terms of production.
right.
So they said, well, why don't we earmark, some of this money, for that purpose?
And it's a good thing whenever you do have a substantial fund balance that you should earmark certain sections of it because there's a lot of inconsistencies that might occur during the year and you have to cover yourself for them.
Right.
It's not in the budget per se, but you should say, well, if we did have to spend this stuff, here's where it should go.
Exactly. And you have to keep track of all that money that's
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. he does keep the books here. So he's very much on the rack, you know, when he goes to a meeting. They stretch him out.
On the
Yeah. So anyway, it seems to work out pretty good. They decided they would earmark approximately $200,000. They're going to discuss it further, but that seems to be the amount that they're looking for. They're also asking for a preliminary evaluation of what it's going to cost to make the move in terms of equipment,
Right.
people, that kind of thing, and where the thoughts are in terms of where the studio might move.
Right, and a lot of that is unresolved. I know Oxford Township has expanded their meeting hall, and also Village of Oxford is negotiating with a firm to actually buy the old Village Hall, and also, as I hear, might be this exact same firm that will build the new Village Hall.
Yeah, right. Those are all, of course, options that are available. I did notice that when we came back from the meeting, though, you started to pack everything up in your desk and ready to move. And I had to inform you that it was going to be a while before this ever happened, if it does happen.
With Christmas and everything, I got excited.
Well, and since then, you've sent out emails to everybody that you're moving. I've been meaning to discuss that with you. I think Bill will line you up. He's the station manager.
I see. No
Have that
forwarding
discussion.
address.
No forwarding address, no. So anyway, there we have it pretty much for the village council. Or
That was not the
council,
village
I mean
council.
the council for
That's the
Communications Commission.
the Council for the Communications.
Shall I name the thing different? The Board of...
Oxford Area Cable Communications Commission.
There, okay. That's why I was hoping for, that you would feed me that, but you didn't do it. You just
Nah,
sat back
you
and you said
dangled
that.
it for a while.
Okay. Well, that being said, we know that eventually there's going to be changes around here. Not that we haven't seen any in the last year, huh?
No changes?
No changes. We have all new equipment.
Well, we do have a lot of new equipment.
Right. Thanks to the Communications Commission, who approved it. Everything is high definition as far as everything in the studio. Just a matter of going to a different server and a few additional changes.
So whenever Charter or whoever the cable provider will be in the next 5 or 6 years.
They keep changing names. Did you notice that?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. What happened to Charter, by the way, and what's UVerse? Was it UVerse?
No, not UVerse.
Who's the other one?
Well, it's Comcast. And
Comcast.
Comcast, of course, because they bought Time Warner, had to placate the FCC and, in effect, turned over all of their Comcast customers in Michigan, at least, and there's other states, to a new company, which I hear will be called Greatland. That will be 30% owned by Charter and managed by a Charter management person.
Now, I don't think...
What occurs after that and what options Charter has remain unknown.
Yeah, I don't think you folks out there are going to see a lot of changes in the way things are done to start with, at least for the next couple of years, maybe.
Well, not our customers, but certainly Comcast,
Comcast
might be
customers.
sitting on tenterhooks.
Great. I don't think they're going to be changing that much either, from what I hear
Well,
at this point.
no, not at this point. It'll be a name change
Business as
essentially and just different management.
Right. I think I don't know where they'll send their money, but they'll figure that out for you
Oh,
out there
Lord.
if you're on Comcast, okay? Anyway, that's pretty much what we had in the Communications Commission. And when we come back after the break, we'll talk about the school board, which is kind of
Wonderful.
an interesting meeting. Number of things happened there, and we'll tell you more right after this.
See you then.
Yeah. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we were talking about what goes on at the Communications Commission board level and how it's going to affect you out there in the future, and us as well. Let's talk about school board, shall we?
Oh boy, back to school.
Oh, yippee-yi-yay. You got it. You did go to school here locally, right?
Yeah, I went to Oxford High School.
Oxford High School? One room?
No, it was, no.
Okay.
Actually, when I first came to school here, it was the old Victorian building where the fire station is right now in Oxford.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, that was old.
When you went to school, after that, they had to put out fires.
I love that old fire escape. Just a big old chute.
Where did it lead? Just to the ground or out to nowhere?
Well, it kind of skimmed along the ground after you hit the
Is that
and
when,
hope there wasn't anybody close behind you.
when you had fire drills, is that what you used?
No, they basically said this is what you could use.
Oh, how'd you find it?
Huh?
Was it an escape route for you? as a kid?
No. I was a new kid in town.
Excuse me, where's David? He's supposed to be in class. He's not here. Where's he at? I saw him go down the chute.
Well,
Is that what happened?
then we went to the brand new modern school on Pontiac Street,
Oh, wow. What was that all about?
modular.
Did it have windows?
They promised it would be expandable, and it's not
Never
so much.
expanded, huh?
Well, it expanded to a bunch of trailers, but that's about it.
Oh. I think that was a concept that the state of Michigan had at one time. I know up north
What?
they did that too.
What, an educational trailer park?
Yeah, right. As the student level becomes less or more, they either add or subtract.
I see.
That's the way it worked. I think.
But continuous expansion of population wasn't anticipated.
That's right. Well, let's get back to the school board meeting, which was held on December 17th. Colleen Schultz, this was her last meeting as chairperson.
That's right.
And as a member.
And she's served for how many seasons?
She served for 17 years, but I think
Wow.
in the last 7 years, she was the chairperson of that particular board.
Oh, that shows a lot of dedication.
It does, and she saw a lot of people come and go in that period of time, which she discussed, during this meeting, including, different board members, different administrative people. She was instrumental in when the new superintendent came on board.
Dr.
Mr.
Skilling, right?
Dr. Skilling. And so she's
And she saw him go.
and she saw him, well, he hasn't
Well,
gone left.
he hasn't gone left. He hasn't gone yet, that
Yet
is,
left.
but he submitted his walking papers.
Although they were the board attempted to hire the assistant superintendent for that slot before he was gone. He says, "Wait a
Wow.
minute, I'm not leaving yet. Not leaving till August."
Kind of reminds me of that old, what was it? The Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where they're loading the dead into carts, and one guy's going, "Hey, I'm not dead yet."
That's the way that worked, all right. He's kind of shocked, I think. But anyway, so the new board is actually going to make that decision as
Yeah.
the new superintendent will be. And they have plenty of time to decide that. And I think rightfully so. But they had a presentation from the Branbury Cross House.
Well, that's right. They,
Yeah. And what they're doing is they're selling apples, as a promotional thing, to get some additional funding.
And Banbury Cross, just in case you don't know, provides sort of help for handicapped kids and makes them bond with the horse riding environment and what have you, and really gives kids a good opportunity to get out there and get some rehab in a way.
Right. It's kids with autism and, like you say, some disabilities, and they do have that connection with the horses, and they groom the horses and that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a real bonding there
kids
that
have a
takes
good
place,
time
and
with
it's
it.
good for the kids.
Parents too, I think, good for them. As well as the teachers. Teachers get great enjoyment watching these smiles, from the kids.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
yep.
yeah.
2 girls and a young man stood up and they sang, in front of the group, a song.
This is still with Banbury
This
Cross.
is still with
Okay.
Banbury Cross,
Okay.
representing him, and did a great job. No background music, that kind of thing, and they just kind of harmonized through it. And by the way, that footage is available on the station here. You can pick it up on YouTube or on our programs.
Which
if you go to
program would that be on?
OCCTV.org on the computer.
Oh, that's right.
Yep, and if you have Charter, it might be on Charter as well.
But is that on a particular program, though?
Yeah, it would be on the school board meeting, which
Okay,
would be out there
okay,
for the
okay.
17th. So look that up and you'll see more detail. Pretty interesting. Let me see what happened here. I think those students, now middle school, 3 of the singers were grade school students, and now they're lower level students. Now they're in middle school, and those were the singers. So harmonized pretty good.
Okay.
They'll probably cut a record next, make millions of dollars, and they'll forget the little people like us. Right. However that works.
Now that we've given them their
Excuse me.
start.
Right, now they're giving them a start. They also had a reading intervention program that they talked about, and they had testimonials from that.
Intervention for people that read too much?
No, for people who don't read enough.
Put that book down.
You're not allowed to read that book. No, that's probably you when you were in school.
Oh, no.
What are you doing with that book? You can't read that one. What does it mean when it says X on the outside? That's why you were using the chute to get out. Anyway, whatever it was, this was a reading program intervention, and pretty interesting. They had 3 kids from middle school that were actually recorded on a video that,
How do you record a person that's reading?
well, they talked about what the benefit of it was. For example, one was about a doggy that was homeless and that kind of thing, I believe it was. And another one was about a child who didn't have any support or love and that kind of thing. And
Are we
what
talking
meaning it
book
had.
reviews here?
Book reviews.
I see.
Yep. And what the program meant to them. And they said it did improve their reading abilities. Their comprehension improved a great deal. It's a great program. So,
But it's
kudos.
called reading intervention,
Reading intervention.
just in case you get the wrong idea, folks.
Yeah. Then they got into a situation where they were talking about testimonials. They said, well, Colleen Schultz, you're going to be leaving. She says, yes, I am. And they said, well, it's been good having you, and there's all kinds of accolades and things that she had done. And you got to admit, 17 years on that board, and one of the members said, how does one exist for 17 years? What is wrong with you? And she just said that I love children, and I love being involved in making decisions to help the kids.
And now, with the next
Teachers.
meeting, guess what? A new president gets elected.
And those appointing that new president will be
New.
the new board members, yeah.
Well, some of them will.
Right. Now, there's some questions yet that are kind of bubbling to the top about the Chinese dormitory.
Yeah, I heard that the
class.
business group backed out, at least maybe temporarily, having to do with their ability to sell the property, which is located on school grounds.
Right. Not that they're looking for property over in Brandon. They're looking for property closer to Oxford. But there's nothing stamped in granite, or shall I say, nothing stamped in gravel. I mean, it's from Oxford.
Oxford, right.
Right.
And that group was the Wei Ming group, wasn't
Wei
it?
Ming, yes. And so that's an issue that's going to have to be confronted, by the new board coming in, board members. And so
Are they all equally disposed towards the Chinese program?
well, I don't think they're not totally convinced as to what direction they need to go. I think they need to be versed on, exactly what the facts are, what it holds in store for the Oxford students and the residents of Oxford. There's quite a bit involved there. Matter of fact, there was a interview that I saw from John Ochins. He interviewed a gentleman that has spent some time in China, and he talks about the Chinese people and
Just in case, John is the host of our Schooling Around program that
Yes.
we do here at OCTV.
And he does also My Life, this would be on My Life program. So
Oh, will
if
it?
you-
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So if you tune into My Life with John Ochins, more likely you'll see that. But it was a very interesting interview. Gentleman was a teacher. He taught over in China for a number of years. Had good relations with the Chinese. Chinese very curious, he said, in information, wanting to know more about the United States and the people here and so forth. But anyway, you need to tune in and catch that, John Ochins, on either Charter or AT&T. And those channels are?
191 for charter, and that other one.
99.
99.
Yeah. And then also...
99 gets you into a menu of all the municipalities that have programs for AT&T, but Oxford, Leonard, Village of Oxford, Addison Township are all in there.
And of course, if you have a computer, you can pick it up on occtv.org, click on programs, and then you'll see small thumbprints of the various programs.
Right, and it's all organized in reverse date order, so if you know the date that a particular meeting took place, bang, you're there.
Yep. Very interesting program. And speaking of interesting programs, we'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we were just talking about the school board meeting that they had on the 17th of December.
Right.
And pretty interesting stuff. You can catch it out on our occtv.org. Or you can go to,
YouTube.
thanks a lot for
Channel
that.
191 for charter, and unless you live in Addison Township, in which case you go to Channel 19. And for AT&T, it's Channel 99. Just look for Oxford, Village of Oxford, Leonard. They're all there. And click on one of those and you'll see our entire programming.
Or if you're out in Brandon, you use 2 tin cans. Okay, anyway.
High-tech
that's not
tin
the
cans,
case.
I may say.
Yeah, that wasn't too offensive, was it? Well, maybe it was.
You'll hear about that.
I'm sure we will. Technology. They had a strategic planning individual that stood up and said, all the technology is in place, the new computer systems and so forth that we're talking about, the new automated system for mechanical department. So the plan was approved. So that was rather quick and easy. Board of Education, Dr. Skilling said that his son is home from Iraq.
Oh,
And so that's good news. It looks like also once he retires, he's going to be moving out of state.
down to Georgia, I
Down
hear.
to Georgia, yep, where he has friends and I think relatives down in that area. So good for him. I think good to hear. But he's got until, I think it's August.
End of the school year.
Yeah, I think August is when he's leaving though, on the
Really?
end of his
I
contract.
thought it was earlier. Okay.
Oh, hey, nice try.
Yeah, thank
See,
you.
you too want to push him out the door before he's ready. He'll be after you for sure. Okay. They did say that they got a $25,000 grant, which was approved, for some of the things that they want to do at the school. So that was good news. They talked about board policy and bylaws that were affected. And
Affected by what?
well, here's the thing. In the past, when the board would bring an item up on the agenda, normally the item was discussed and voted on before the audience could speak. Audience would always speak at the end of the session, which they're in the back, they're saying, but, what? We have input.
Yeah, and basically they're bringing themselves into line with how other governmental units proceed through their agenda.
We did get a report from the village in terms of police response last year. In 2014, they had 8,784 police calls or pullovers and that kind of thing that police took action with.
I see. Is that good or bad?
Well, it's actually higher than the previous year.
Oh,
Previous year was 7,000 some. So there's a difference of 1,000,
could be a sign of an improving
actions.
economy, folks. I don't know.
Could be a sign of that officers are keeping an eye on you people out there better so that nobody gets hurt. Out of that, citation warnings, they had over 5,000 citations.
Is a citation the same as a ticket?
Citation is same as a ticket, pretty much.
All right.
Yep. But there are conditions with every citation. So anyway, it's a tough subject. We need to get, excuse me, Chief Niemanowski up here, from the village. And he would explain all this to you. Excuse me, they had also roughly 80 accidents last year. Rear end collisions, that kind of thing on 24 and various other streets. Previous year they had 10 less, or roughly 6 less than what they had this year. So anyway.
And this doesn't include any of the calls that the EMS made or anything like that? Okay.
No, and so you can see your police force is pretty active out there, trying to keep you folks safe. Be careful when you go through the village. Don't speed. Don't run red lights. It'll get you.
Yeah, they're still sensitive about anything over 30 miles an hour, folks.
Yeah. and they're not prone to not pulling over trucks that are speeding through, especially these big ones, they can't stop and run through light. So that would be a problem.
And just remember, if someone is getting a ticket, go to the other lane.
Yes. Well, the other thing you can do is if you can't go to the other lane for some reason, they tell you to slow down.
Way down.
You have firsthand knowledge of
I
this.
have firsthand knowledge of that. Of course, ignorance is no defense.
Oh, you will never forget that one.
No.
And by the way, did you have to pay a ticket?
I did. It was a reduced one, though.
Folks, you didn't know you had a criminal up here, did you? Okay. Anyway, I know he's sworn he'll never
that
do it
put a
again.
crimp on my trip to Hawaii, I'll tell you that one.
Yeah, I would think it would. And how were those guys in prison, by the way? Did you-
I didn't go to prison.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, that's good news. I just want to spread a rumor. By the way, rumors are spread here sometimes. because everything that we say here is pretty much the truth, but there are a few little
Like
things.
cream cheese on a bagel.
You're right. For those that like bagel, maybe don't like cream cheese. But anyway, that's the case. There are a number of things that's going on next year that they're going to be concerned with. And one of the things for the village is that they're going to have to secure some property along M24 as a right-of-way. Yeah, they're going to have to acquire it, let me see, from Denison Street to Stanton Street to Lincoln. And let me see, also at East Street, requesting property to be donated for the benefit of the community for safety along that area. Now, on the highway, M24, they're going to make a left-hand turn. And in order to have that done by MDOT and approved by MDOT, Joe Young, the village manager, has to secure these properties in advance.
When is the big project that MDOT is going to come through with to redo the entire M24 area in downtown?
Well, that won't be done in 2015. Actually, the properties we're talking about, they have to be secured for that lane. The deadline for that is the end of the year,
Okay.
2015.
But doesn't MDOT have a target date?
Well, yeah, they're looking at like 2 years, 3 years out, you know, for the actual project.
That's been a moving target, hasn't it?
Well, not actually. They've actually looked at it, you know, in the perspective it's in terms of the date schedule. So, no, they pretty much fall in there. They figured originally when I was on the village council, they looked at 4 to 5 years out. So they're getting close to it. Joe has a lot of work to do to secure this property before anything else can be done.
Does this have anything to do with the Complete Streets program also?
Well, that of course is done through the DDA and you know what's going on with the actual village.
Same
and-
streets.
Same streets. And if anything's going to be done then, of course, wanting to get done, that's the timing that you'd want to do. You don't want to tear up your streets
Right.
again, you know,
Right.
in order to do this project. But anyway, it looks like it's proceeding, and we're going to get there. What's coming up besides that?
Oh,
next,
for 2015,
meetings?
folks, we have meetings. On 1/7 at 6:30, the Oxford Board of Education is going to be meeting at the district offices in downtown Oxford. And on 1/8 at 7:30, Addison Township ZBA will be meeting, Zoning Board of Appeals. At 7 o'clock, the Oxford Township Planning Commission. And on 1/12 at 7:30, the Addison Township Board of Trustees. At 7 o'clock, the Village of Leonard Council. And at 7 o'clock that same day, Oxford Township Zoning Board of Appeals. On 1/13 at 7:30, Addison Township Planning Commission. And at 6:30, the Village of Oxford Council, which you're no longer part of.
Nope.
And at 7 o'clock, Oxford Township Parks and Rec.
Okay. But I am on the ZBA board, so that'll keep me out of mischief.
Oh, watch out, folks.
You know, yeah, if you've never been to Leonard, you know, travel out to Leonard. It's a neat little town. It's like stepping back into about the 1940s, maybe 1930s.
What do they call it? Pastoral? Bucolic?
I don't know, but I think it's really neat because it's
Yep.
kind of the little town that I came from originally. And so it brings back a lot of memories. And their town hall is very similar to the one that I recall as a
When you
young
left,
kid running through.
when you left, they had to change the sign to population 1. No.
Well, actually, the population originally was like 150.
Oh, that was a metropolis.
It was, yeah. And that's counting all the gophers and what do they call those things that you hide in the woods?
Animals.
No, not animals. Anyway, no, those things that you were kidnapping and moving to different locations.
Oh,
Chipmunks.
my little chipmunk population. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so if you have an overabundance of chipmunks, you can blame him for it. He's got these little cages that he puts them in and puts little signs on them, please take me, and he puts them on your front porch, wherever you're at. So anyway, that's the thing he has going for year 2015.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Did you ever get natural gas out where you're at, by the way?
As a matter of fact, tomorrow we're getting converted over to natural gas.
I've heard that. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I've heard that
Yeah,
lots of
well,
times. Tomorrow's the day.
They've done a tremendous amount of digging out there, and we've just been waiting for our propane gas tank to get down to an acceptable level before they come in and make the change.
Wow. Now, yeah, it's been a long haul, but, you know, it's kind of nice when you do get natural gas, of course. Not to, you know, negate, you know, the safe expense that you're not going to have. You know, it's going to be very reasonable to run. Anyway, this is Elgin Nichols.
And this is Dave Kenny.
And we'll catch you next time on Minutes by Minute.
See you then.
3, 2,